let's start our sheet now, and we'll review kind of where we were going with this. We're going to use, I think this is a really attractive looking layout the manufacturer done. I don't think this is quite the way it comes because it looks like this view has been modified by me rotating it at one point. This it probably should look more like that. So I selected that and I'll just deactivate the view. But anyway, we've got a floor plan or a plan view, two elevations, and then an isometric, or well, actually it's not an isometric, a perspective view with some of the elements hidden, some of the extra walls. And we have a little more complicated bathroom, so want to keep that in mind. Also, they've inserted in here, if we zoom in, some of the ideas about clearances. So like clearance that's required around the sink is created as a mark, or let's see what they call it. Let's go to annotate, a detail line, or detail line. And the area around the toilet, the 44 inches by, that looks like, I'm not seeing the other dimension. It's probably 60 inches, or it looks like it could be 56 inches. And then the turning radius for the wheelchair, and they've also got a wheelchair in here, which gives you a nice 3D object to work with. So let's create a bathroom view. The final one that, or not the final one, but the one that I'm working towards is this one here. And I've created a perspective view that really isolates it with a section box. And then one's kind of within perspective of the building. I've got the wheelchair in place, and then I've started these elevations at critical areas so we can use these to help us analyze our layout. So let's go back to our project. So now I'm back to, so these two are two different projects that I have open. So I'm going to go to bathroom. Video start is mine, but that doesn't matter to you. Just make sure you're not working in a in the reference drawing. So let's go ahead and add a new sheet. So we do that by right-clicking, new sheet, and it's going to be that environmental controls title block. And let's rename it right away. These are incrementing up, so I'm deleting some. That's why the number's higher. And we'll call this ADA bathroom. Whoops, it's already in use. Oh, 3, so I want to go 2, excuse me. We'll just rename this again. And we can drag the first thing down as our bathroom plan, so let's just pull that on. And that's coming in at 1/2 inch scale. That's probably fine. We have a huge sheet, so we have a lot of space. Typically 1/2 inches is probably the right way to show a specific detail like that. We're going to want to do a little editing to that. Let's bring in that bathroom perspective that we've been working on. It's got a huge crop box around it, so I'm going to just double click into that and make the crop region visible, and then just tone it down. So we still have a lot of design work to do, but there's no reason why we can't start to use these tools to help us work through some of the detail elements. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this and drag it back on again. And I have this bathroom perspective, but I'm not sure if that's any good or not. Oh, it's okay. It needs some work though. So let's just work with it a little bit. I'll just double click on it, and I'll go ahead and hide this in view. All right, so we have another little different view of the assembly. We'll come back and clean those up. But for now, we need 2 other drawings, or at least 3 other, maybe 3 other drawings, and those are sections, or elevations, should I say. And elevations are a little bit different than sections. in the way that they're understood, in the way they're held within the document. There's a bunch of little nuances to it. So let's look at actually creating a couple of interior elevations. So I'm going to go to View. I'm going to go, instead of dissection, I'm going to go to Elevation. And we're going to just place, I want a view looking back this way. And I'm going to select that just to see where I'm at. And I want to pull this back so that I catch the grab rails. And maybe I'll just pull the whole marker back. I don't think that will affect where it's really reading. And we're going to pull this up close because we don't want to see anything behind that wall surface. And let's take a look at what we've got. All right, there we have our section of our bathroom. We can see our grab rails. We can see the partition of the next bathroom over, the position of the sink and the mirror. So that's a good start for a wall section. And we have this ceiling plane. And I haven't put a ceiling in yet. We can do that towards the end, but you'll notice how the partitions are going up and touching that ceiling surface. So with that in mind, let's go and we can pull that onto the sheet just to get an idea of how large it's going to look at scale. All right, these are coming in at 1/2 inch scale also, and that could be fine. Let's leave it at that. So that's one elevation. Let's create 2 more elevations to help us out and inform us. So I'm going to go back to the bathroom plan and grab another elevation marker. And this time I really want to get inside of the bathroom because I want to look at specifically these issues of the pull this back a little bit and grab that marker. So we're catching everything going back from there, but we're actually going a little bit further than we need to. So I'll pull this forward. And let's take a look at that. All right, a little bit simplistic looking with what's going on over here. There's nothing on that side of the wall, but we'll leave that for now. I think that's just fine. So let's go and create one more. I'm going to go back to the bathroom plan. And I want to take a look at what's going to happen at this sink because we're going to pull a wheelchair up to it. So let's make one more elevation. I want to get it facing in the other direction. So I'm going to just place that marker there. And then we'll zoom in, we'll click on it. And I'll uncheck this one. And that's going to delete that one. And I'm going to check this one on. And I'm going to click this one just to see what we're looking at here. Once again, we're pulling really deep. And we don't want to go so deep, so I'm just going to pull this, forward like that. And let's now go to our sheet and drag those other views on. So I'm going to go to L2, and we'll drag on our new elevations. That's the one over the sink. It's mostly for our own edification of understanding, and then our other one is the view inside of the bathroom. We could go back and probably maybe label these with different terms going forward. So we have our layout set up for us, and now I want to start to create some of these elements that speak to how far things are spaced and how things are aligned. So let's go back to our accessible toilet room. We need to create this idea of a floor clearance in front of the sink of 38 by 48 inches. And we need a 5-foot diameter circle for the clearances of wheelchairs. So we could do that a couple of ways. One is, I'm going to double click into this. Let's actually just grab this whole entourage element. So I'm going to go ahead and just copy that. Select it and just do Control Copy. And let's see if we can place that in the bathroom plan. And I had to click to get it to show up. So I'm going to take that now and I'm just going to rotate it around. Putting it right in front of the sink, because what I want to do is I want to go to want to go to our bathroom, and I want you to be able to see this elevation, the relationship between the sink, this idea of a toe space. So this, you'll notice that down here, the depth of the stalls and the bottom of the sink are all accommodating this idea of toe space, space that you can get the chair up close to the front without your feet hitting the wall surface, which is really important if you're in a sitting position and trying to manipulate surfaces. So now it's possible to get up close. The other thing about ADA sinks is this protection from burning of the hot water that would come down. One of the things that is an issue there is that many people who are paralyzed no longer have sensitivity in their legs. They can't feel them, so they can't feel the sensation of heat and cold. So they could easily be injured by resting their leg, burnt by resting their leg on plumbing systems. So that's a nice telling descriptive of what's going on with that idea of that clearance. And we can see it here. And what we'll do is, if I was to click into this, we're going to just hide this in view. Because we're really not, those really aren't necessary components of that part of our description of our bathroom. Okay, so let's create two more elements here. Let's create those two clearance elements. I'm going to go in and go back here, and we're going to make a 38 by 48 inch floor clearance. So I'm going to go back to the bathroom plan. I'm going to go to, I think it's annotate. I'm going to create a detail line. I'm going to make a box. I'm going to do it somewhere over here where I've got a little workspace. And I forget what the dimensions were. Sorry, I'm kind of 30 by 48. So we want this to be 30. Oops, sorry. I don't know why it isn't accepting that. It almost did that same silly behavior the last time. And I turned the crop box off in order to see it. Let's drag this back on again. So that is actually 30 right now. And this needed to be, can't believe I can't remember those numbers, 48. Okay, so now we have our, and I'll click off of this and I'll turn the crop region back on again. And we're going to take all of these lines and make them dashed lines, hidden lines. And we could actually add a few more. Well, we could add across, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to group this. So we'll group it. And we have that available to us now to put in front of the sink. I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees. And pull that in front of the sink. And that kind of defines that area of requirement for the wheelchair and the relationship of the sink. And one of the things that's apparent here is we may have already enough room to deal with, well, we could think about a couple of things. We may not have a requirement for the distance between the wheelchair and this because we're not at a turning point. Our turning point for our wheelchair could be in another location. But I mean, obviously, we want to make sure that we're creating all the right kind of situations here. So let's do this. Let's be generous. Let's take this sink and we'll move it down. Just move it down 6 inches. And what I want to do is move the wheelchair down so that we're kind of aligned right in the center of that. Now we have plenty of room, generous amount of room here. Let's just move this up a little bit. Now these are all minimums, so we don't have to be tighter. We don't have to make them, we can make them more generous than they're required. I'm going to move this guide over here. And I'm going to edit that group and see if we can make that into a, I wanted to make it into a 3D line. And I'm not sure that it's going to allow us to do that. So I'm going to cancel this a minute. And I'm going to ungroup those lines. And then I'm going to convert those lines. And it's a warning that Revit has converted those 4 lines to 3D lines. And then I'm going to regroup them. And the reason I did that is I want them to exist as 3D lines, which means that if we go to this view over here, you can actually see that blue outline on the floor plate. So we can actually, we don't necessarily want those to be in technical drawings, but these are our guides for while we're designing. And the other thing we need to make is our this idea of minimum clearances around the door. We have 54 inches one way and 60 inches the other way. So we can do that same construction. So it's 60 feet in front, or 60 inches, I'm sorry, in front by 54 wide. I'm writing that down so I don't have to keep coming back. And we'll go to the bathroom plan. And we'll go ahead and we'll construct the same kind of a concept here. So we're going to go to Annotate, Detail Line, pick up our rectangle tool, and we'll just draw a box to start with. And that needs to be 5 foot in this direction. And I'm not sure I'm going to, let me see if I zoom in here if I can get some precision about, there we go, we got 5 feet that way. And 54 inches is 4 foot 6. So let's get over here to 4 foot 6. Now that's not working very nicely, so I think we'll just go manual here. Oh, we're getting a bad reference point. I'm going to grab that point and drag it down to here. We'll make this 60 inches. And I'll click on this line here. And we still got a good reference here. And we're going to make that 54 inches. And then we'll take all of these lines again. And we'll make them dotted lines or hidden lines. And we'll go ahead and convert those. And we'll group those. And now we can take that and slide that into position so that we have the idea of what our door clearances are. And you can see we're meeting all of our requirements for door clearances. There's nothing in that way. So we met that goal also with our current layout. And I'm thinking actually what I would like to do here is I'm seeing that this could probably be moved over a bit. So let's pull this door closer. And we can just also move this guide over. And we'll take a look at that in 3D view. And there we go, we have our required door clearance, our required clearance in front of the sink. We need to work on the alignment of our mirror, and we need to make sure that we have our placements of our grab rails and our toilet bowls in the proper locations. So we'll I'll end this clip and then we'll just pick up on doing those tasks in the next one.